This is a Georgian mahogany campaign chest. How do we know it's Georgian? Well, there's a number of different factors that are all added up together to tell us this. But of course, we have handled many hundreds of different campaign chests over the last 23, 24 years. And when you handle so many, you get an instinct and an understanding. So first of all, the quality of the mahogany is that much earlier. Secondly, these lovely skeletal handles. The shape of them, they're a little bit longer in the handle. The casting, the shape of these good brass corner pieces to the top. The size of it is a little bit smaller, a little bit lower in height. The fact it's got graduated drawers, 3 drawers to the top section, 2 to the bottom. Doesn't have removable screw-in feet like a standard later campaign chest. It's on sledge feet. Now these have been replaced by ours, but the shadow marks were there to tell us exactly what had previously been there. So we know. But also, perhaps one of the most interesting things, which is also an indication of its earlier age, before they really got into the rhythm and understanding of the most practical ways of making a campaign chest. That's to say, in 2 parts, with removable turned feet, no side handles unless they were flush, because it would go into packing cases. Before they reached that stage, they're still trying to work out the best way to do things. And you may have seen some of our videos on transitional campaign chests when they were going from a domestic to a campaign chest. Those will have given you an indication. And this chest is just a little bit past transitional. You know, they've worked out 2 sections is a good idea. Brass corner straps just to make it a little bit stronger. Flush campaign handles, flush drawers. But the interesting thing to this chest, if we turn it around to its side, the handle. It's not a carrying handle, but it's a tying down handle. If we look at it, we've got a rather nice round handle here. And it's not big enough really to lift. I mean, you could use it perhaps just to get a grip, but it wasn't really meant for that. It was meant for tying down. Now, why would you only have a tying down handle to the bottom section? It would make much more sense to have it to the top section, wouldn't it? Well, the reason being is that the top half of this section doesn't fit to the bottom half on standard turned lugs. It's actually bolted down onto the bottom section. So we'll have a look at that in a minute. But what basically that means is, if you tie it down, say on board ship, with this round handle to the bottom, the top section is not going to move because it's fixed on by these bolts. So let's move in a little bit closer and we can show you how those bolts remove. So we're going to take out the bottom drawer of the top section. And hopefully you can see in here you've got 1 bolt, 2 bolts. So we will just undo these. And there you go. So they've obviously got a head which stands proud. I don't know if you can see it, but you've got a hole there and a hole there. And of course, underneath this drawer, you've got the space because of the runners for the head of a bolt just to sit in there and not interfere with the movement of the drawer as it's used. So we'll put this drawer back in, come out a little bit, and show you the top of the bottom section. So with the bolts removed, we can tip up the top section and show you the bolts, sorry, the nuts that the bolts go into. Right, I'm just going to manoeuvre this to make it a little bit more stable. Right, let's come in a little bit. So, just here you can see we've got a brass nut section to receive a bolt, and here the bottom of the top section is cut out to receive it. Now, these brass nuts were missing when we bought this chest. We've obviously replaced them. And it took us a little while just to work out what was going on. And of course, the fact that they're raised makes perfect sense, because they also form a type of lug just to locate the top section to the bottom for when you put the bolt in. So just an added little extra bit of thought that's gone in there, just to really make it work very well. So there's the cutout section to receive this square brass nut that the bolt screws into once the drawer's taken out. And while we're here, hopefully you can also see the lovely shaping of these brass corners, this nice rounded shaping, which, as I said before, is just a little indicator of its earlier age. That, along with lots of other items we've pointed out, tells us that this is an earlier chest. But that's a very pleasing shape. Right, so let's put it back, and then we'll go through one or two other things that are interesting about this Georgian Campaign Chest. So it's got its key, and the locks to all 5 drawers work off the same key. So we can see there, that works nicely. But this top drawer is also quite interesting. So let's have a look at that. So we can see we've got 2 dividers running front to back with a nice little bit of cock bead cut into the top edges, very similar to the drawer fronts, which has got a nice cock bead cut into them. But also we have got these lines cut to receive dividers to slot in from side to side, and you can see there's more here and here, and these dividers wouldn't be fixed, they'd be removable, so you could adjust them to get just the size compartment that you wanted. If we come right to the back, you can see that there is one right to the back as well, quite a small compartment. But what's also interesting is if we look at the front inside edge of the drawer, you can see these 2 cutouts. Now they're obviously to take 2 hinges. So what does that tell us? Well, there's 2 options. These hinges either would have supported a writing slope board, so you might have had a board which fitted on the top here, perhaps with a leather skiver on it, and perhaps with a lectern foot, and you would lift that up and you could either use it on its lectern foot if it had one, or rest it on the edge of the drawer here, and you would have a working area, you'd have a writing slope, a working area. Or it might have been that it supported a looking glass, a mirror in a wooden frame, again with a lectern foot, which would then stand up and you could use it to shave or whatever. Now, we're never going to know 100% which one it was. I think if it was a mirror, there's more likely that there would have been little steps in here just to adjust the angle of the lectern foot to hold it at different angles. There's no evidence of that, but we're not 100% sure. It might have been a writing slope board, it might have been a mirror. We're never going to know. But at some stage, it wasn't useful to the owner of this chest, and it was simply removed and parted company along the way. But it is quite interesting that this top drawer has got quite a bit going on. So the chest was not only storage for clothing or whatever, but also had a use as either a desk or as a dressing table for the army officer that owned it. While we're here, you might be able to see the top of the lock. Unfortunately, no stamps or markings to it, which would give us any clues to the chest. But, you know, a good lock, which is original, which works well. So to sum this chest up, it's a good mahogany Georgian chest, early 19th century. Interesting top drawer that was fitted either as a desk or as a dressing table. Two sections bolt together, and very interesting for having round handles for tying the chest down just to the bottom section on each side. So there you go. A very nice chest indeed.